Hey everyone, it's Jason and welcome to another Primal The Awakening. We are going to head into some more monsters. We're going to jump into the Thunder monsters this time. If you haven't checked out the previous videos, video 1 we go over the overview / rules of the game. Video 2 we went over all the tokens, components, most of them. I skipped the campaign stuff or stuff like obviously directly related to the monsters. In the next couple of videos we went over the hunters. And then we started going into the monsters by element, so 2 per video. So if you want a brief overview again of how the monsters work, how their turns, their cards, instructions work, go back, check out the fire video for the monsters. I did a brief introduction at the beginning of that one. Otherwise, we're going to dive right into these monsters for us. So we always have 2 different ones that are one is kind of a animal of sorts. So here we have Ozew. Who is a horned beetle, it looks like. He's definitely a monstrous bugger. Pun intended. So he has a weakness of horn and crystal. No other special stuff on his board. So horn, probably like a harden type thing, maybe. Could like damage him being an insect. And then crystal, maybe because like, my guessing is maybe like lightning powers or thunder kind of like hit crystal and they don't really affect them. Maybe they reverberate off of them. So we'll have to see exact kind of get into that. Then we have Jekoros, who also has crystal, and then he also has feather. Not entirely sure the whole feather thing. We keep seeing that in a couple of them. It's one of the expansions. These are also interesting because you guys have the least amount of weaknesses. Most monsters have at least 3. Not only do these guys have 2, one of them is an expansion. So if you don't own that expansion stuff, he's going to be even harder to fight. He also has an extra meter here, which I believe is his charge meter, if I remember right. We'll look at it more when we get into him, but I believe that's what that was. Let's try to see if I can find the page with the monster abilities. So he'll have an extra little counter for those. I'm almost to the page with it. Charge track. So he's got a charge tracker. Just slowly upgrade it, and he'll have a little counter for that as well. So we'll look at more of his when we get into it. Let's look at the miniatures. We're going to start with Ozew. He's a little horned beetle feller. Definitely not as impressive as he looks in his art because you can't see like the electricity spewing off of his horn. And they kind of like have his wings folded down a little bit more, but still neat. I just love all the detail on these guys, right? She's got like all the different legs. She's got like little bubbles on them. So if we get into the wings, they didn't put anything under those, but they do have like these like veins on the top of the like insecty wings. So yeah, if you're familiar with how kind of these bugs work, is obviously there's like his big like softer inner parts. He has his wings, but then like you could potentially fold these down to cover all that. And then this is like a nice hard carapace to like keep him from taking damage. So I'm assuming he's gonna have some effect to that where he can kind of probably shield himself a bit. At least that's my guess. I love going into these, not have looked at these ahead of time, so I can kind of see what they're going to do at the same time as everyone else gets to do. He does have extra cards, though, and some extra fun abilities we're going to get into. So let's go ahead and look at his first stance. We have 3 defense or toughness. No special effects on him at all. So that's not bad. In stance 2, we're going to get when revealed, all players become dazed. Then place lightning on top of the behavior deck. Interesting. So he's going to have a card called Lightning. Yes. So he's got 2 special cards called Lightning. I'm going to set those off to the side. And we'll look at those at the end of the stance, because that does. And what Daze does is you're going to get the Dazed token, which then will shut off your defense. So it says, or sorry, it won't shut off your defense. Stops your next blue. Become Dazed, take your corresponding Dazed token, place on your hunter. The next time you play a blue maneuver in your sequence, discard your Dazed token and consider that card to be blank. You still remove one struggle but ignore its text. So when it's revealed, all players basically lose the ability to use one of their blue cards, and then we'll place this lightning card on top of the behavior deck, which means it's going to trigger right away. So we'll see how devastating that'll be. Also notice he can be hurt in every single zone. I think he's like the first guy that's had that. And then stance 3, when revealed, he gains struggle -1 per player. Sorry. You gain struggle per player -1. It's such a weird way to say that. Remove the hit from the horn objective from the game. Interesting. So we'll see how that works for him. And if we hop to level 1, his first stance does nothing again. His second one, when revealed, all players become Dazed, place lightning on top of the behavior deck. You also notice he doesn't do a lot of damage. I don't think he's going to do a lot of damage in and of himself. And then stance 3 does the same thing as the other ones do. Alright. In level 2, he gains resistant, which means when he changes stance, he doesn't carry over any extra damage. So yeah, you have to do 16 toughness to him, but if you have more than that per player, he doesn't carry it over. Also, just noticing this, is that the same as the other ones? Did I not pay attention? 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah. So yeah, he went from 3 down to 2 to 2, and then in level 1, he went 3, 5, and 7. Sorry, 7, 5, and 3. So he starts off a little bit harder, and then you're weakening him up as you go. So he starts with 16, he jumps to 18 on here. So it kind of bounces around a bit. He becomes resistance in the middle, a little bit more defensive there. And then when we get to the last one, though, he drops way down to 9, so he becomes a little bit softer to defeat. When revealed, reveal the top 3 cards of the Swarm deck and bring them into play. Then remove Hit the Horn objective. Ooh, so we have a special Swarm deck we get to look at. Oh, we got a mix-up here. So this would be stance 2 for level 2. So you go 16 to 12, then down to 9, which makes more sense. It's weird that he jumped way up all of a sudden. And then if we look at stance 3, he just has resistance at 25. Then he goes to 18. And then he drops down to there. The top 3 cards, I had that Swarm card. Alright, so before we jump into his peril cards, let's look at some of these other cards we have. First of all, we have Lightning, which is going to just have a trigger like this, which is going to be, it automatically flips as soon as you reveal it. So the easier one is when Ozew gains per player -1 struggle, the aggro player suffers attack unless they reveal a green card from their hand. So yeah, he has this, he'll put this on top of the deck so they'll hit a little bit quicker. And the same thing for the other one. Just sets just 1 struggle per player, so a little bit more struggle. So yeah, those will automatically trigger. They go on top of the deck, so that means as soon as they come out, they're going to hit immediately. Then he has Swarm cards. So on the back here, a little picture of his monster face. And then we have a bunch of different Swarm cards, which have different effects. So it did say in stance 3, the top 3 cards of the Swarm deck, bring them into play. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring these guys into play. I'm going to grab the book here and see exactly how those work. They kind of mention it. Swarm cards. Okay, here we go. So, some cards are special cards. Swarm cards are special cards that enter play as a result of specific abilities to Ozew. Each Swarm card has an ability that remains active as long as the Swarm is in play. In addition, you cannot deal damage to Ozew while a Swarm is in play. While a player would normally deal damage to him, they instead choose the Swarm cards to play, if any, and be the target of damage. To defeat a Swarm, they must remove it from play. Players have to deal a cumulative amount of damage to equal or higher than Ozew's toughness value. Note, when you deal damage to a Swarm, if you defeat that card, any excess damage is lost. Oh boy. So yeah, whatever his current stance level is. So basically, he gains less. So as he goes through his stances, right, he started with 15. He starts with 25, then goes to 18, then he goes to 15. But when he hits 15, he just reveals 3 of these cards. So basically gives him 3 shields, essentially, is how this is going to work. He summons a little Swarm out, they come out and they help protect him. X is equal to his toughness value. Then it says, at the end of the round, Ozew gains 1 struggle for each player in a marked sector. So we're going to something that's going to mark his sectors. We have another one here. Just a little bit different. I like that they're all different. So all perils in play are immune to blind, so you can't cover them. And players cannot assist or taunt. This one says the first card in each player's sequence is considered to be blank. At the start of the attrition phase, the active player takes a disrupt token. And then finally, at the end of the round, before resolving Thunderstorm, active player must recycle a green card from their hands. Ooh, we haven't seen Thunderstorm yet either. Disrupt tokens, as a reminder. When you take this token, place it on your hunter. During the attrition phase, if you have a disrupt, you must place it on a defensive sequence. It does not count towards towards the attrition. So basically, you're going to shut off some of those cards. So there's only 5 of them, and you're going to draw 3. So it's kind of neat because you're not going to get the same cards every single game. And you'll start crossing over very quickly, but that's kind of cool. Alright, then his peril cards. Rumble of Thunder. So you just get another new effect in here right away. Permanent. At the start of the round, reveal the top card of the Rumble deck. That card becomes the active Rumble deck. Or Rumble card. So we have these little extra miniature cards with him that are Rumble. And I believe all it's going to say here is each Rumble card features a diagram that represents the side of the monster, orientated to the front sides at the bottom, and highlights specific sides in yellow. When a Rumble card is active, the sectors of the combat board correspond to the sides of the highlighted yellow are called marked sectors. That's how we mark stuff. Note, when a Rumble card becomes active, discard the previous active Rumble card, if any. When an instructor reveal a card from the Rumble deck but is empty, you must shuffle it and create a new one. So that's going to be very interesting. So we looked at these quick. There are 5 of them. And you're going to have it like this. So when these get played, basically these spots are now marked. So we did mention in the 1 Swarm card right here. So gain 1 struggle for each player in a marked sector. So if this Rumble card's out, anyone in his front and rear sector, there's a little arrows on the bottom here, show which direction he's facing, will gain 1 if that Swarm happens to be out. We have a second one for that way. We have one here that does the front and the flank sectors, one that just does the front, and one that just does the flanks. So very, very interesting that we're going to have those. On the harder side, start of the round, reveal the top card of the Rumble deck. That card becomes the active Rumble. Cool. And those are permanent. Those are always going to be out. Then he also has a second peril card for level 1. Yes, he starts with 2 of them out. So he can get these Swarm cards as shields, these Rumble cards to mark areas, and he gets 2 permanent perils. At the end of the round, each player in a marked sector suffers damage ×2 unless you reveal 2 green cards from their hand. Oh, so now you really have to also avoid being in certain spots on the board. That's nuts. And at the end of the round, each player in the marked sector suffers damage times 2 unless you reveal a card from their hand. And then we also have a Swarm card to kind of mess with that. At the end of the round, before resolving Thunderstorm, active player must recycle a green card from their hand, which means they must discard it and draw a new card. So yeah, they have one that's going to mess with the marked symbols, one that's going to mess with Thunderstorm here, which are permanent. If he hits round 3, he gets, at the end of the or he stands 3, at the end of the round, Ozew gains 1 struggle for each player in a marked sector. And now this is interesting because this does not have a dual side. So this will not hit in harder areas, which is kind of weird. Then he has his objective card, which is Hit the Horn. This is a permanent as well. So if you play a blue and then 2 red, you're in the front sector, inflict blind. So that's kind of cool. You can shut off all them abilities by smacking them in the horn. Shuts off that thunderstorm and that rumble. And then the harder side, which is the exact same thing. Very interesting, right? Very interesting indeed. Okay, so now we've seen his different stuff. So we went through lightning already. And we saw what that did. That's kind of a pain to deal with. Let's see what the rest of his cards do. So if he turns at all during the turn, he triggers Flying Assault. The active player reveals a... Let me scoot these up just a bit for these guys. I can get them a little bit closer. Reveals a random card from their hand. If it is a green, they discard. Otherwise, they suffer an attack. Oh, so he's going to keep eliminating your dodge cards. Which then make that thunderstorm harder to deal with. Or lightning. Makes all of them. But yeah, it's going to be kind of hard. The active player reveals a random card from their hand. If it is a defense, they discard it. Otherwise, they suffer damage. That actually doesn't seem as bad. But the downside is both of them. It has to be a random card. So it's not even like you can choose it. Ooh. We have... It's just kind of punishing you for playing those cards. If you keep more in your hand, you have a higher chance of getting it. You play more, you're going to suffer. If you're in his front sector, in front of him, he is going to... Blinding Light. The active player reveals a random card from their hand. There's an attack card. They discard it. From the depth of the storm, a fork of lightning rips through the sky above you with a blinding light. Kinda cool. Jumps down, blinds you for a turn, essentially. In the harder one, active player reveals a random card from their hand. If it is an attack card, they discard it. Otherwise, he gains struggle per player -1. Yeah, random is always a terrible thing to have to play against because in here it's not as bad because it possibly works towards you because random means, like this one, right? At least this side, you might randomly not select it. But the other one, you randomly need to select a card. So it kind of works against you in both ways. At the end of the round. Or, we have a different symbol here. So when you run out of cards, is that what this one is? After a player empties their hand. Has 0 cards in their hand after playing, discarding, or any other game effect. Note, the behavior triggered once that event. The leg of the player having 0 cards is in their hand is completely resolved. So yeah, you have to discard the last card of your hand, or you play the last card, or anything like that. Or even if you do, I would imagine it would hit in the middle. I don't know if it would hit in the middle of recycle. So it's just anytime you empty your hand, like you discarded like 3 cards and then like for recycle or something like, and then you drew 3 cards. I think that would be the same action. That might be a rule thing to check. That's neat that they're going to trigger at different times. So the easier ones, we have Eye of the Storm. The players in a marked sector are reduced their hand to 4. Ooh. So then they have to discard down to 4 cards. The monsters cry. The great swarm swirls above your head and showers of lightning bolts rain down on the battlefield. And then this one is going to be players in the mark suffer sector attack and reduce their hang of 4. Then reveal the top card of the Rumble deck. This card becomes the active Rumble. Cool. So that's even suck even worse because then they take damage and then they immediately have to reduce their new draw hang if they have to draw more back up to 4. And then new Rumble cards. Cool. A Rampage card, which will trigger anytime something else triggers. We have Chained Lightning. The aggro player recycles a random card from their hand. All other players must recycle a card of that same color from their hand. Again, recycle is discard and then draw a new card. He's going to mess with your hand a bunch, which is really a cool mechanic. I'm not saying it's going to be fun to fight against, but I have to, I love the fact these guys have some neat mechanics. Because that's going to be how do you play against a guy when you can't strategize because you keep having to randomly discard cards from your hand? Aggro player must recycle 2 cards at random from their hand. All other players must recycle 2 cards of the same color. Oh boy. Ooh, if we play an aggro card. So if we get offensive on him, what mean thing is he going to do to us? He's going to surge. Gets +1 attack till the end of this round. A teeming mass of electric shocks start maniacally across Ozew's body. The energy collecting along its horn-like lightning rod, which turns bright green, ready to release the fury of the storm. Otherwise, in the harder one, he gains +2 attack till the end of the round. If you're in the front sector, we are going to deal with Calling the Storm. He gains per player -1 struggle. The active player must recycle a red card. I mean, at least you recycle, right? Is it's letting you get your card back. He's not just discarding cards from your hand. But the thing is also going to be that he is going to make this harder because you're going to, again, have to constantly change your cards up. So you're not going to be able to plan stuff as well. Harder one, he gains 1 struggle per player. Active player must recycle all red cards in their hand. If you are targeted, he will trigger Thunder Charge. It's +1 attack during a turn. A lot of flavor text on this guy. With a boom from the sky, lightning strikes Ozew's horn. Channeling its energy, the monster suddenly lights up. Its wings vibrate frantically and its eyes sparkle with destructive fury. I don't like how this is leading up. Right, Swarm calls a storm, he gets charged up. What's he gonna do here at the end? Thunder Charge, it's +3 attack. So our final one is if you play a red card, he has Thunder Strike. The active player is in a marked sector, suffers attack unless they discard a random card from their hand. And then the other side is active player. If the active player is in a marked sector, each player in that sector then has to just take damage or discards a random card. Alright, so he's pretty crazy. So these Rumble cards, you have to watch which areas you're in. Then the Swarm, when you get down to the end, you eventually break him down farther and you can start hitting him harder. Them Swarm cards are going to then act as extra shields. Now, it's only 3 of them, but still the fact is you have to do 3 more and none of that damage carries over. It means you can't be end of the game playing super big giant combo attacks because it won't work. And then the fact is he has 2 permanents. So again, you have to watch what marked area you're in. Yeah, otherwise you're going to take extra damage. And then he's going to constantly keep playing with discarding random cards from your hand. Again, lots of them are recycled, so you get them back, but still the fact that you have to keep dealing with more and more cards being randomly discarded, you can't plan your strategies as well. That's pretty crazy. It's a pretty cool effect, though. I like that. Alright, our next Thunder monster is Jekoros, who is our dragon type. So he's kind of like a Godzilla-y type versus a winged dragon. He does not look like he has eyeballs, but he has his big giant menacing claws, big giant feety talons. He's standing over mounds of something. Yeah, he's just got these big giant spikes on him. I love the end of his tail there. It's pretty cool too. So there's also something you can't really see in the miniature as well, or at all. They kind of highlighted in there. See, like he has like a little bubbly chest thing there. So it looks like he has some sort of glowing crystal on his chest. So is that going to play into this? Probably somehow. They do all their designs very well with these monsters. So let's start off with his first card, his first stance. At 0, I'm going to have to back out just a bit more so we can get both cards in here. When the charge level, so we did mention he has that charge level, reaches 3, reset it to 0 and advance to stance 2. Interesting. So he's going to be able to force himself into stance 2 rather than waiting for you to take damage. It does actually look like he doesn't have that stance change symbol on the side. So, yeah, he's going to... The only way to get him to change his stance is going to be reaching this charge meter, which he has that little counter. Shows a little, like, charged up heart or whatever you want to call it. But that's interesting, so we'll see how that works for him. When charge stance 2, when it reaches 3, reset it to 0 and advance to stance 3. So monsters wanting to be in higher stances is because then they get to do more damage, they have more things like he gains more toughness and he gains that. So like you could potentially, if you could somehow keep the charge level from going up, so I'm not sure if you can or not, we'll see there's peril cards and stuff too, you could potentially defeat him in stance 1, which is better for you because he doesn't do as much stuff. If he gets to stance 3, oh look, when the charge level reaches 3, all players are KO'd. So he only needs to charge up 3 times, and then you guys lose the game. It's crazy. So he puts his own extra time limit on the game. And I can only imagine that he's going to have roughly the same abilities on the other side. In level 1, he has stance 1, which goes up to 3. He advances to stance 2. Reaches 3, he goes to stance 3. And in stance 3, once all players are KO'd. So he just gains more toughness as he goes along. His damage, though, stays roughly the same. It stays at 1 all the way through. In level 2, oh boy. Start of the round, increase the charge by 1. When it reaches 3, resets to 0 and goes to stance 2. So the beginning of the game, he already starts with 1 in his charge. In stance 2, same thing, reaches 3, he advances, but now he's doing 2 damage on this level. And then stance 3 KOs everybody. Oh boy. Then level 3. Start of round 1, increase the charge level by 1, and then stance heal up. Now he's doing 3 damage. So again, he's only doing 3 damage versus some of these guys end up start doing 4, 5, 6 damage, especially in level 3. So he's not going to be hurting you a ton that way, but he doesn't need to. He just needs to survive until his heart charges, and then he just like explodes and kills you. Not really exactly sure the reasoning behind it, but yeah, when he charges and unleashes that charge on you, boom, you're all dead. That's crazy. That's a really interesting mechanic to play as. Alright, on stance 1, he has permanent and Jekoros is unstoppable. Incessant echo. Because he's blind, obviously, because it looks like he can't see, doesn't have any eyes, he's going to use echolocation. That kind of makes sense. And then Unstoppable is just a reminder of what that does. Each time a behavior card is triggered, he gains 1 struggle. Then on the harder side, it is the same thing. Also, in stance 1, he has another permanent, and this one is immune to blind. Thunderhorn. When Jekoros suffers a wound, it gains 1 per player minus 1 struggle. Unleash. Increase the charge level by 1. A player in the sector with a rock crane may remove that crane from the game to prevent the unleashed damage in that sector. Interesting. So it just prevents the damage, but he's still, every time he unleashes, he is going to up his charge. Hopefully that's the only way that happens, so then basically to prevent that charging, you just gotta keep playing blue cards and keep his struggle down. But every time he gains a wound, he's gonna gain even more, so you gotta be very careful with that as well. But yeah, we'll kind of piece the puzzles together as we go along. In the harder side, suffers a wound, he just gains 1 struggle per player, otherwise it is the same. Then when he hits level 3, he has high tension. When a player suffers a crushing damage, the charge level is 2 or more, that player suffers damage times 2 instead of 1. Oh boy. So he's going to hurt you even more. And then the harder side is if it's at level 1 or more instead. So basically every time he's just going to hurt you for twice as much damage. Alright, on stance 2, he has Strike to the Heart for an objective, which is a permanent. At the start of each player's turn, the player in the front sector may discard an attack from their hand to either inflict Vulnerable, which lets you do twice as much damage, or reduce the charge by 1. So that's cool. So once he hits level 2, this stays out. You can keep constantly just get to the front and smack him. You can either make him more vulnerable so you can kill him quicker, or at least use it to reduce that charge. Otherwise, once he hits 3, if he gets that 3rd level, he kills you. So this is going to make, like, Thorg, who wants to be in the front, and Linar, who also likes to be in the front sector, probably really apt to take this guy on, because they're going to want to be in there anyhow. And then the harder side is, at the start of each player's turn, the player in the front sector may discard an attack from the hand of their quick vulnerable or reduce the charge. It also needs at the start of each player's turn. So that means playing a 4-player game, you could potentially inflict vulnerable or reduce every turn, or inflict charge each time. Or reduce that level, but you have to keep discarding either an attack or a reg one depending on your difficulty. But that's neat that it works for every player. Cool. The other thing he is going to have is his own special set of attrition cards, which will get added into the game. We have 5 of them. So these just get added in when they come out. They're just gonna, so yeah, it comes out, you have to reveal 1 defense. It says, when revealed, the active player is in the front sector, he gains 1 struggle. So we just had a thing of, like, right, you want to be in the front to hit him, but here then it'll give him a struggle, working towards his unleash if you're in the front sector. And it looks like all 5 of them say the exact same thing. So, yeah, it kind of sucks, right? And here it doesn't matter if you block the damage or not. So you're just going to have a potential to play more of those ones, which you'll probably block. But he still gets extra struggle for it, potentially. Alright, our behavior cards. At the end of the turn, he is going to trigger these. These ones are never fun because they're always going to hit. Insane Buzz. If the charge level is 2 or higher, all players become dazed. If a player is already dazed, they discard a card from their hand. So, is this buzzing? My first thought is he's using like echolocation type of thing. I wonder if it's just the charge of the static from the energy, the lightning driver that's charged up inside of him. It's making like a buzzing noise because it's charging. Kind of like a mosquito lantern type thing. And then the harder one is, if it's at 2, they become dazed. For players already dazed, they discard a random card from their hand. So it just becomes a random card instead. So we have one that has alternate conditions. So this will trigger if either a defense card or a threaten is played. But it only triggers off of one of the two, obviously. But yeah, it's going to hit more often then, which is fun. Haunting Echoes. The active player reveals a random card from their hand. If that card is an attack card, they discard it. Otherwise, Jekoros gains 1 per player -1 struggle. On the next one, we have they have to reveal a red card specifically. Cool. If you are threatened, so basically you don't move around too much again, because you want to be in that front to hit him. So you probably want to stay in that front. So you might just take the threatening, worry about the extra attrition, but this is going to punish you for doing that. Electric Spark. The active player reveals a random card from their hand. If it is a defense, they discard it. The Beating Heart of the monster, which protrudes from its chest, emits electrical spark that rains frantically all over its entire body. The active player discards a defense card from their hand. So you have to discard one rather than randomly reveal a card, which might not be a defense. Interesting. When he turns, he is going to Killer Tail. Each time each player in the rear sector suffers an attack +1 unless they reveal a dodge or green card from their hand. No players in the rear sector, the players in the flank are targeted instead. And then this is the same one, except now they have to reveal 2 green cards. Awesome. Aggro cards. If you play an aggro card, you will trigger the Heartseeker. Jekoros immediately turns to the active player unless another player discards a blue card from their hand. Jekoros senses your aggressive instinct and suddenly turns around, unsheathing its sharp, curved claws. Oh boy. Turns to the active player, that player becomes threatened. Not only does it threaten you, you also have no way of dodging it. That's fun. If at the end of the attrition phase, oh boy, these ones are always mean. We have Retaliation. If Jekoros suffered a wound this turn, the active player suffers an attack. Otherwise, he gains 1 per player -1 struggle. So really, like, which is the better way to do this? Otherwise, it's just 1 per player. Like, you know that this card was coming up. Or sitting in there like, okay, at the end of the turn it's gonna happen. It's like, can we afford to let him gain struggle to get towards his unleash? Or do we just have nobody damage in this turn so that somebody has to take a wound? Or take damage, right? That's kind of a crazy way to think about that. Then we have Reaction. Let's look at one side first. We have Sting. Each player in the flank and rear sector suffers an attack unless they reveal 2 green cards from their hand. And then the harder version is same thing except +1 damage. If you empty your hand, which he does decent amount of discarding effects, so it's very possible. Electrocution. The active player is in a rear sector with a water terrain. They suffer an attack unless they discard a random card from their hand. He's gonna have water terrain as well. Oh boy. That's not fun. Each player in a sector with a water terrain suffers an attack unless they discard a random card from their hand. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, is this guy gonna have water terrain? Oh yeah. Look at that. So in his expedition, he starts with 2 water terrain out. They mentioned rocks too. He starts with 2 rocks. But yeah, water terrain, what it does is if you're in a sector with water, you can only play 3 cards. So not only is he making you discard cards, living in your hand at times, when you really need to keep that struggle down, he's also going to potentially, in half the areas, make it so you can't play as many cards as well. Interesting. So then our last two cards these are kind of unique. So they're both in the front sector, but for the easy side, we have Unfathomable Shadow. The active player discards 2 random cards from their hand and draws 2 cards, which, again, could empty your hand quicker. And then in the other one, we actually have a different ability. It's called Creeping Shadows. All players must recycle all attack cards in their hand. In the darkness, the thundering rumble of the storm increases and incessantly pervades your minds. So that's kind of neat that we have 2 different cards depending on which one. So 2 random cards is always terrible. But 2 random cards might not be as... And you get draw 2 to at least replay them. Is generally not as bad as having to recycle. Well, you get to recycle all red cards. You still get to redraw them. But one could be worse than the other, right? Because you could have 4 red cards, now you lost 4 cards versus 2. But 2 random could mean you could lose something you absolutely had to have out. Very cool. So that was Jekoros. Yeah, so he has some very interesting abilities. I love the end thing where you can potentially just KO everybody if you're not actively going against that. Which that makes that fun because it makes the battles like this, and like Ozew had the same thing where you have Swarm, you have to deal with the Swarm, dodge the rumble areas. So both of those ideas, and some of the other monsters have these too, is I like it's just not get in there, just, move your guy to a vulnerable area or exposed side and just attack them. And that's not the idea. They're not, like, I like this to be a thing like video game boss fights. You get some games where, like, you just have to hit them 3 times, and then their health bar drops, and then they do a thing, then you hit them 3 more times, and they do something. Or it's just stand there and bash on them until they die, right? And you just stand there, take damage. Just try not to die, you know. I like it to have these little gimmicks you have to definitely work around. And you have to strategize. Okay, so this guy have to do this, and this guy have to move a bunch, this guy have to be in this sector. It definitely changes up. And then since both these guys with electric happen to deal with making you discard cards from your hand, especially at random, it's going to make strategizing a lot harder. So that makes these guys really cool to play against. Cool. That's all we have for the Thunder Monsters. Hope you guys are enjoying. We have, if you've been following the videos in order, we have 1 left to go. That is our Metal Monsters. Which we'll definitely get to them. And then we can hit some more The Awakening eventually. Yeah, check out the rest of my videos. See you guys in the comments. See you later. Bye.